I'm even more flattered. Thanks again.
And once again, my pleasure.
So Amber, where are you from?
Chicago, Illinois.
Ah yes, good old Chicago. I've been there a few times. Experienced a lot of action down there.
What kind of action?
Honey, it's a long story and you wouldn't believe it if I told you.
Did you experience any real action?
Yeah. Plenty. So Amber, how old are you?
I'm 23. How old are you?
Old enough?
Are you old enough for something very, very specific?
Reacher and Amber silently just stare in each other's eyes like they were hypnotizing one another. In a trance. After 6 seconds, Reacher speaks. Look, Amber. I don't want you to get the wrong impression of me, but, you said yourself I'm one of those guys who lives hitting and kicking on the open road. Which means I'm not the kind of one who sticks around forever. Which also means I'm not a one-woman's type of guy. Amber says nothing. She looks down. After 6 seconds, she looks back up at Reacher.
I was never the one man's type of girl either.
Reacher takes a minute and smiles. But the smile slowly melts away when he looks back at Wolfman and Little Red Riding Hood at their table. Red Riding Hood still has her head down, but Wolfman stares at her with his mouth slightly open like he was fascinated of why she was covering her face all the time. Reacher suddenly notices that Wolfman was moving and stroking his left arm rapidly under the table, like he is cutting something under it with a knife. He is still sweating and rubbing his face. After a long experience being a military policeman, an MP for shorts, Reacher can notice something fishy at a blink of an eye, and at the flash of a gunshot. Reacher's face for some reason begins to grow cold. Amber begins to notice Reacher looking over Wolfman's table. She waves her left hand back and forth to see if Reacher is paying any attention to her. Reacher is in suspicion mode.
So what's the deal?
Amber replies. Reacher is still locking eyes over Wolfman's table suspiciously. You think that jukebox has the song Urgent by Foreigner?
Maybe. Why?
Because I think there's about to be an emergency.
And I guess you're the type who has the balls to reluctantly handle emergencies?
Yeah. I handle a whole lot of them reluctantly.
I'll go check the jukebox out.
You do that. Amber slightly gets up from her stool and walks over to the jukebox. Wolfman begins to rise from his chair, takes Red Riding Hood by the hand, and they walk to a small hallway which leads to the men's restroom, with Reacher still scoping him out. He turns to the jukebox and sees Amber leaning back beside it. She has a sexy smirk on her face like she was about to say,
Go handle your business.
Reacher then nods at her like he was about to say, "Thanks." Reacher begins to get up from his stool and walks to the hallway where the men's room is located. He opens the door of the men's room and goes in. Reacher is now standing in the men's room with the entrance to it right behind him. On his right side are 4 urinals and 4 toilet stalls. On his left side are 4 sinks, each of them with 4 mirrors above them. At the very dead end is a plain tile wall. Reacher just stands there looking around, scoping. After the sudden grunt, Reacher crouches down. He began to sense that the grunt was coming from the 4th and last stall. He crouches down towards it, hardcore military style. Reacher is now in front of the stall and rests his right ear on it to listen through it. Suddenly he hears a voice behind the stall door.
That's it. Sit right there on the toilet. May you see the zipper between my legs? I want you to take your hand and unzip it. Relax. Don't be afraid. This is just a way to get you ready for boys when you grow up.
After hearing that sentence, an immediate switch turned on in Reacher's head. What he just heard got him boiling with rage and adrenaline within him. He quickly reacts by standing back, balls both hands as fists, and with all of his strength, force, and muscle, breaks the door down with one punch with both fists. The stall door falls on Wolfman behind him. Red Riding Hood is sitting on the toilet. The door falls on the right side near the toilet, and Red Riding Hood jumps off it and moves to the left side.
Get over here!
Reacher grabs hold of Wolfman, throwing him right out of the stall with all of his strength, leading Wolfman to hit one of the sinks, breaking it in half. Red Riding Hood, full with fear and adrenaline, runs out of the stall to the tile wall near the entrance door. Wolfman, now on his hands and knees, quickly crawls to the right side corner near the sinks. Reacher walks towards Wolfman, very, very slowly, like a maniac killer from a horror movie with a cold-blooded, aggressive stare on his face, going in for the kill. Wolfman is still on his hands and knees, digging in his left pants pocket. Reacher is unable to see him do it since Wolfman's jacket was covering the pants pocket. Finally, Wolfman takes out of his pocket a switchblade knife. Wolfman pushes the button for the blade to jump up. Reacher was lucky to hear the sound of the switchblade before Wolfman did a quick turnaround strike with Reacher leaping back. Reacher and Wolfman are now in wrestling body position, both eyes locked on each other, weighing for which one will strike first. Wolfman takes a quick strike at Reacher with the knife. Reacher leaps back. Wolfman takes another strike at Reacher. Reacher leaps back again. Wolfman took another strike, but Reacher has a strike of his own. He grabs a sharp blade with his bare left hand. Reacher just stands, with his face vibrating, taking the pain. Wolfman stands, holding the blade, in surprised disbelief on his face of this 6'5" tall human Hulk holding the knife with his bare hand. Suddenly, Reacher's hand drips with blood, vibrating his face and punching his lips together. Finally, with all his strength and muscle, he breaks the top tip of the switchblade and it falls to the floor. Wolfman steps back and looks at his broken switchblade in shock and throws it to the floor. Wolfman strikes his whole body at Reacher with a war cry. Reacher and Wolfman now wrestling and struggling all over the men's room. Finally, Reacher gets the upper hand and grabs Wolfman by the collar and gives a big, quick headbutt with all force to Wolfman's face, with his nose exploding with blood like a water balloon filled with red paint. Reacher drags Wolfman to the line of sinks and continuously throws Wolfman against each of the 4 mirrors, with the glass shattering after each impact. Reacher kicks the door open from one of the stalls and drags Wolfman inside it and dumps Wolfman's head in the toilet bowl filled with urine and feces, with Reacher flushing the toilet. Wolfman getting a taste of the feel of who he is, which is filth. Reacher throws Wolfman out of the stall onto the floor. Reacher walks over to Wolfman, grabs him by the throat with his bloody left hand, and by Wolfman's collar with his right. Then, with all of his adrenaline and all of his beastly rage, Reacher takes Wolfman, drags him off his feet, and quickly rushes him all the way down to the dead-end tile wall. Wolfman's back hits up against the wall. The impact left a huge, gigantic dent on the wall, with tiles all over the floor. Wolfman was still off his feet, back against the wall, with Reacher still holding his grip on him. Reacher begins to drop his right-hand grip off of Wolfman's collar, but kept his left bloody hand grip on Wolfman's throat, stabbing it with his fingernails. A one-hand stranglehold. Reacher begins to speak with his stranglehold grip still on Wolfman. You know, there's nothing wrong with a piece of ass. But when that piece of ass belongs to a little girl, that is what really, really, really sparks my fire.